Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody enjoyed a long Easter weekend. I'll start off by giving an update on all of the COVID-19 support programs our department has rolled out over the last few weeks. To date, for the Emergency Income Relief Fund, we have approved 2,150 applications and rolled out $2 million into the pockets of self-employed Islanders. As for the Emergency Relief Worker Assistance Program for workers who are still working but have seen a significant reduction in their work hours due to the impact of COVID-19, 225 applications have been approved for 1,115 impacted employees, which means $348,725 are already in the pockets of Island workers. As for our emergency working capital financing for small businesses, to date, 113 loans have been approved, totaling $5.56 million. For our employee gift card program, we have received 1,400 applications from employers, which means 9,453 gift cards have gone out to Island employees who have been laid off. As for our commercial lease rent deferral program, we have received 115 inquiries and have approved 84 applications so far. And for our COVID-19 Income Support Fund, we have received 7,633 applications and have approved 4,390 so far. Every day, all day, my department is continuing to think of new ways we can help Islanders during this tough time. We know as we approach closer to summer, this is typically the time when post-secondary students would be looking for a summer job. We recognize our Island students are at a very critical point in their lives and are worrying about how they continue to pay their expenses and stay enrolled in their educational programs. As Minister responsible for Skills P.E.I, we took a look at the Skills P.E.I programs we currently have and how we can enhance our support for students during this tough time. So with that, today, I'm pleased to share that we are expanding the Skills P.E.I post-secondary employment program by supporting an additional 320 positions. This expansion will help create additional summer jobs for Island post-secondary students who are unable to find employment due to the impact of COVID-19. With a focus on providing support for our Island communities, environmental groups, non-for-profits and charities, and private sectors that are in need of labor. For private sector businesses who are also increasing the amount of subsidy from 50% up to 75%. And I do feel the need to make it clear that any jobs that are created through this additional support will follow the directions set out by the Chief Public Health Office. For any Island employers who are interested in participating in this program, please contact our Skills P.E.I office. Phone number is 1-877-491-4766. Once again, 1-877-491-4766. I'll wrap things up by thanking all Islanders for your patience over the past few weeks. We know these are tough times, but I continue to promise you, you have our support, and together we'll get through this. And now I will pass it over to Minister Trivers for an update as well.
Well, thank you, Minister MacKay, and good afternoon. Our university and college students are at a very critical point in their lives as they pursue post-secondary education and training that will create a brighter future for them and for all Islanders. Our students are now adapting to new learning environments while worrying about if and how they can pay their own expenses and stay in their programs. So recognizing this, today we are announcing further supports for students, including providing the student unions at Holland College, University of Prince Edward Island, and Collège de Lille with a total of $95,000 to provide direct financial assistance to students in need. This will benefit all students in need, including those who are not eligible for student loans or bursaries, such as our international students. Also, there will be an immediate $75,000 investment to create a post-secondary research fund as requested by the UPEI Student Union, which we hope will lead to summer opportunities for students where research can occur while practicing social distancing. This will build on the supports that the provincial government has put in place to help post-secondary students, some things we've done already. We've deferred student loan payments through to September 30th, 2020. We are providing post-secondary students with a temporary rent subsidy of $1,000 through Social Development and Housing. We've extended the Jobs for Youth application deadline. And we are offering a grant of $750 to those students who qualify for federal supports and are waiting to receive them. That's the Emergency Relief Fund. For more information on programs and supports for students, call 902-368-4640. That's 368-4640. We are proud of our ambitious island youth who work very hard to pay for their education. And we deeply appreciate the significant sacrifices that island parents make to help with the cost of their children's education. We are committed to working with our partners to ensure that our university and college students don't fall behind and that they can continue to focus on their studies as we get through these uncertain times together. We are in a new era of teaching and learning in our province. We are deeply grateful to our teachers who are allowing our students to continue to learn during these unprecedented times. And we are indebted to our caring school staff who are reaching out to students and families to support their well-being, not to mention all the people behind the scenes in places like Human Resources. We are now into week 4 of our transition to at-home learning for students in the primary, elementary, intermediate, and high school levels. The kindergarten through grade 9 teachers began reaching out to their students last week with 3 primary objectives. They are helping them to maintain and strengthen the literacy and numeracy skills they learned this year, which of course are the foundational skills for all other learning. And they are supporting the well-being of students and their families, which is so important to learning. The department, ITSS, and the education authorities are in a process right now to distribute Chromebooks to students, beginning with grade 12 students. It's anticipated that 150 to 200 devices, i.e. Chromebooks, will be deployed to grade 12 students next week. Department staff are having discussions with post-secondary institutions to determine pathways and requirements for graduating students. And this week, we will complete our planning with Eastlink to deliver community television services that focus on physical health and well-being, creativity, and support for English as another language students. Material will be produced for airing the week of April 20th. School boards have provided basic school supply packages to students in need, and now are working on the production and distribution of printed materials similar to the home learning activities available on our website. Students who are experiencing stress or need to talk can contact a school counselor or a student well-being team member via email at supportforfamilies@edu.pe.ca. Also, a survey will be going out to parents in the coming days regarding the learning needs and expectations for parents of students who are following individualized learning programs. And Student Services reminds parents that kindergarten registration still needs to happen. So please email sburke@edu.pe.ca or call 902-368-4638 to register your child for kindergarten next year if you haven't done so already. And of course, this information is also available on the website. Also, I just wanted to highlight that our school food program continues to meet a real need. In the absence of school breakfast and lunch programs, the Public Schools Branch, in collaboration with the Department of Education and Lifelong Learning, my department, the Department of Social Development and Housing, the P.E.I. Homeschool Federation, Breakfast Clubs of Canada are assisting families in need by delivering healthy meals to children. This week, we will provide food to 600 students who will receive more than 4,000 meals. And meals are being prepared at Kincora Regional High School, Carrefour de l'Île Saint-Jean, Alberton Bakery, and the Home Plate in Murray Harbour. And staff from the Department of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy have been doing deliveries twice a week on Wednesday and Friday afternoons. A special thanks to them. Students receive 3 meals on Wednesdays and 4 meals on Fridays. And so families needing assistance can contact the Support for Families line at 902-368-5155 or supportforfamilies@edu.pe.ca. And again, verify those numbers on the website. On the early learning and childcare front, we are getting down to the finish line. They've been working really, really hard, in the early childhood development area of my department, placing children of essential service workers in emergency childcare centres. We have asked for a complete review of the data just to ensure that everyone is accounted for and that no one has slipped through the cracks in any way. And as of noon today, 116 families have chosen centre-based care, 303 families have chosen a home care option, 16 emergency childcare centres are operational, and 7 other emergency childcare centres are preparing to open based on need. So although this has been a trying time for all Islanders, I am hopeful that we will come out of it stronger by working together, and just want to thank everyone for all your excellent support. Minister MacKay.
Thank you, Minister Trivers. Now I'll pass it over to Minister Fox.
Thank you, Mr. MacKay. As the Premier and my Cabinet colleagues have previously mentioned, our government recognizes the current situation, with requirements for physical distancing, plus the interpretation of many activities that have not been deemed essential. This is creating stress and uncertainty for students and recent graduates on Prince Edward Island. Many of the places the students would have looked for summer employment now face uncertain prospects. Our seasonal tourism business would normally be preparing for summer right now, creating many summer jobs openings for post-secondary students and high school students. Instead, many of these businesses are either closed or operating at reduced capacity. The same goes for summer recreational programs and camps that might employ students. We simply don't know if they will operate as usual this summer. These decisions will be up to our Chief Public Health Office and to program operators themselves. In order to help students' employment prospects, the Department of Fisheries and Communities, through the Employment Development Agency, is creating supports for businesses, community groups, and local governments to hire students this year. Our department will be supporting the hiring of 250 students through Team Seafood. This will see students who work in the seafood sector this spring or summer receive a bursary support of $1,000 for high school students and $2,000 for university students. As well, we will be increasing the annual Jobs for Youth placement by 280 additional employment placements. For this fiscal year, we'll be increasing incentives for employers by raising the subsidy amount for private sector employees who hire students from 50% to 75% of the student's wage. We would welcome all private, nonprofit sector employers and all municipal governments to apply for help from our programs if they think they would benefit from hiring a student employee this summer. As our province deals with consequences of COVID-19, the provincial government is committed to helping people return to work, including our secondary and post-secondary students, and to help businesses and organizations hire the personnel they need. The sooner people return to work, the better off Islanders will be. This spending is unprecedented, but is a necessary step to help our province and its economy return to normal activity. People in this province have made some hard decisions and tightening their belts to fight COVID-19. Our government will be there to help them get back to their feet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Fox. So just a quick recap with all the minister's announcements. So the announcements today are creating about 1,000 new jobs for post-secondary students right now. So that's what it amounts to. Feel free to reach out. Any questions, we'll do our best to navigate. Once again, thank you all Islanders for your patience. You're doing a phenomenal job. We appreciate everything you're doing as well. And now we'll open it up for questions.
Nicole Williams, BBC.
Yes, hi there. This question is for Minister Trivers. I'm wondering if you can just expand on the research fund, $75,000 to create a research fund for summer opportunities. I'm wondering what exactly that means and what it looks like.
Thanks for your question. So we, in the department, we work closely with the different student unions as much as we can. In particular, the P.E.I. student union prepares a package for us with some asks. And one of the things they identified were research dollars for both undergrad and graduate students. They felt that was a gap. And so looking at their request and then looking at the need for students to have income in the summer and be able to, you know, self-distance while they do that and social distance. We thought this was a great opportunity to look at that request and provide some funding there so that students can take on research projects as part of their studies and have some funding to do that, and of course have some income at the same time.
Thank you. And my next question is for, I guess, whoever can answer that. You mentioned, you know, creating these new jobs for students. All of them would be following social distancing or physical distancing guidelines. I'm wondering if that's something the province plans to enforce, or will it be up to individual charities, organizations, things like that?
Thanks for the question. I would say it's all our responsibility on that one. You know, this is subject to change. We don't know how long this is going to last or how long this is going to go. We need to be creative during this time. So I think it's a good opportunity for the watersheds and some of the nonprofit organizations that might have had limited resources in the past. This is a way that we're going to be able to help them out as well. So I think it's something that's going to be a challenge. We're going to have to work through it, and I feel everybody has a role to play, and we're just going to do our best we can with it.
Thank you.
Jim Day, The Guardian. Jim Day, The Guardian.
Yes, for Minister Trivers, as you mentioned, we're into the fourth week of home learning. What's the feedback from parents as far as what are the challenges and what's working and what's not working with the home learning for them and their kids?
Thanks for the question. And I've tried to kind of keep on top of things to understand how parents are doing at home and how teachers are doing, of course, on their end. And of course, people do send me emails, and I try to, you know, go onto social media and see how people are doing. And it's interesting because there are one group of parents, I think, that really want to see the online learning ramped up with full-on, you know, virtual classrooms. Yet there's another group of parents that are saying, look, I'm an essential worker. I'm away for 12 hours a day, and I'm just doing the best I can for my child. And that's really the challenge in our department, is to find a place where all children can learn to the best level possible. And I just want to thank all parents for doing everything they can in their power. And everybody has different capabilities and different levels, and there's lots of challenges. Our teachers have really stepped up to the plate here. We're giving them a lot of autonomy, and we're saying, we want you to reach out to the students in your class. We want you to work with them in the ways that they can work to learn. And really the feedback has been very, very good. There's some challenges to overcome, and we're going to continue to work towards them. You heard today we're trying to move Chromebooks out into the classroom for people that might not have devices at home, even though they have internet access. We have some teachers who have issues with connecting to the internet. We're going to be helping them as well. But overall, it's been going very, very smoothly, knock on wood. But of course, I shouldn't expect anything less with the professionals and, of course, the patience and goodwill of Islanders.
Okay, thank you. And for Minister MacKay, you're announcing top-ups and additional programs to assist Islanders and students. How much deeper can the province go in the coming months with coming up with additional financial assistance for Islanders?
Well, it's a good question. You know, if we had a crystal ball to see how long this was going to last, we don't know. As of right now, the province is in good financial position. The economy's been good. The businesses and P.E.I. have been great. It's been a phenomenal few years. So now we're doing what we can to make sure we can bring that economy back when it comes. We need to continue to roll out supports for our business sector, our students, and all industries right now. So we are looking long term. We're going to have more programs roll out over the coming weeks. How long they're going to last, we don't know, but we're just taking one day at a time and going to continue working through it.
Thank you.
Carrie Wynn, Ocean 100.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I guess maybe my first question, probably for Minister MacKay, just in relation to, all the wage subsidies that have been announced. Of course, we see one of the biggest industries that have been hit, and we're just coming into our peak here, would be the tourism, the hospitality, and restaurant business. And while many of them are able to qualify for some of the wage subsidies from Ottawa and from the province, are there anything to help curb and save the businesses themselves?
Thanks for the question. So that's what we're working on now. So my department behind the scenes has been working daily on this. We're close to rolling out some announcements and programs on this. We feel that the tourism industry is probably going to be the one that's impacted the most. So it's taken some time to develop. I believe we're going to be at a whole other level when it comes to this. So I assure all tourism operators, I know that we haven't come with anything yet, but it's en route. I'm getting daily updates from how the committees are working and what they're working on. We're in the final stages of rolling some of this out, so I'm hoping in the next couple days I'll be able to give a little more feedback on that.
Oh, super, thanks. And then for Minister Fox, we all know that May 1st deadline is rolling around for the lobster fishery, and certainly we know that ultimately it is Ottawa's decision as to whether the spring lobster fishery goes or not. We also know there's several industry partners that also contribute to all that, and Ottawa making its decision. So how does that all work, say from the fishers, the processors, the buyers, the exporters, all that type of thing as to whether that's going to go or not, and what would be the final absolute last date where it could go and still be going in the spring?
Well, thanks, Carrie Wynn. I can tell you we actually started conversations back about 4 weeks ago with the federal government and our Atlantic counterparts, including Quebec, and also engaging all of industry, every sector that's involved in the fishery. And those discussions have been ongoing basically on a daily basis. DFO is a regulated fishery by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. They do have the overall control of it. And they've signaled to us that they want to hear from industry and will make decisions based on what industry wants. So some LFAs or fishing areas have requested a delay in the fishery. Some fisheries have been delayed. The crab fishery right now in Quebec and northern part of New Brunswick is opening, but right now industry is very engaged in what they would like to see a fishery look like. So that information is coming between us and DFO and through the Atlantic ministers to make sure that DFO has all the information available. DFO has said that any decision to delay a fishery or close a fishery will have input from industry, and they're looking for that input. So it's a very, very broad, complex issue that touches a lot of sectors and has a lot of moving parts. So what would be a drop-dead date? That's hard to determine because we also have to be very cognizant of the quality of the lobster coming in the water, what their condition is, also mediation with the whales before they start to hit the grounds in the areas. So it's a big moving target. So right now the P.E.I, they did reach out over the weekend to all their membership, and they, my understanding, I was told today that they had about an 85% rate of return on the questions asked to the membership, and I haven't been privy to them results yet. But I imagine the P.E.I will be releasing them as soon as possible, and that could be what determines, the opening or the closing or a delay in the fishery to DFO.
I believe they are releasing those details tomorrow from a survey from P.E.I, but there'd be different deadlines there, would there not? Like as to how much time the fishermen would need to get ready, how much time the processors would need in order to make sure that the lines are all covered, all the workers are back. And then, of course, there's also the temporary foreign workers that work in the processing facilities that may not even be here as yet.
And you're right, Carrie Wynn. This is a very complex issue, and it has so many moving parts. But I will say that industry has been very involved in this from the start. from the P.E.I to the processors to the buyers, across all sectors, whether it be the lobster or the aquaculture industry, the oysters, the whole wild fishery guys, they've been involved. And it's something I can very much say that these guys are working together. And that's one thing I've heard across industry is this is no other time has industry seen this much work together as a group to come to a satisfying outcome of the whole fishery.
Laurent Lavoie.
Yes, good afternoon. I have a question for Minister Trivers. I think the other day you talked about 200 kits, paper kits for the children at home. I'm wondering how many parents asked for the paper kits for the home learning.
Okay. Merci beaucoup for ta question. So there, we had initially 230 families that were identified and students that were identified, and so those went out. In fact, those printed materials and the packages were put together. They were delivered, with notebooks, pens, pencils, those sort of things. And I don't have an update as to the additional number that has requested them since then, but whatever number comes out, we're going to make sure we get those supplies to the students so they can learn the best way possible.
Okay, and just to follow up on that, you talked today about 150 to 200 Chromebooks. How do you determine this number? I mean, the family asked for those computers? Yes.
So what we're starting off on the Chromebook front is with our grade 12 students because they're the ones who are trying to graduate this year. They need to graduate this year. Of course, we're working closely with the post-secondary institutions, and that's going very, very well. But we want to make sure they have those technological supports. And so that's how it worked. The teachers reached out to their students and said, okay, who needs to have a Chromebook that doesn't have that sort of device at home? And then we're looking at getting those out to the people who need them. And then after that, once the grade 12s are set up, we're going to look at getting them out to other students that may require that sort of support.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the questions. And once again, thank you all Islanders. Stay safe and we'll talk again.